ISKCON DVD founder Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Stotra Sapta Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Seko Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Yamuna Maya Ki Jai. Ganga Maya Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga.
Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. It's a genuine pleasure to see live faces, live bodies here in the temple. Very ecstatic and exciting. So the next 3 weeks, as he said, we'll be discussing Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a very good idea. These festivals are very important points in the advancement of our devotional service. I had an old friend, Jad Bharat Das, who trained me up on traveling Sankirtan many ages ago. And he always used to say that you'll make, 90% or 95% of your advancement at festivals. And he used to really love festivals. So if we could prepare for the festivals, leading up to it, that'll make our enjoyment and appreciation of it even that much greater. So I think this is a good idea. So let's discuss a little bit about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. When I first came to Krishna consciousness, actually, a little funny story first. When I first came to Krishna consciousness in the Long Island temple, I knew a little bit about Indian culture and quote-unquote Vedic culture. I had a slight familiarity and had read some things, this and that. And I went to the Long Island Temple, which had Gaura deities as presiding deities. And I went in and I looked at them and I was saying, they're both guys, because I'd only seen or heard of deities of Radha Krishna before, so I was saying, but they're both guys, I didn't get it. And then a devotee explained to me about Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. But also early in my exposure to Krishna consciousness, one thing I very much enjoyed, very much appreciated about the Vedic literature in general and Prabhupada's books in particular is that they're ecstatic, but they're also philosophically precise and detailed. So some of that detail is contained in the very first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. In that first verse, the absolute truth, it's mentioned that one should meditate upon the absolute truth. Param Satyam Dhimahi. So this word, Param Satyam, for the absolute truth is very precise and very rich understanding of what the absolute truth is. Param Satyam. Prabhupada, I think in the purport, he also used the word summum bonum, the Latin term summum bonum, which has a long history in philosophy, going back at least to ancient Greece and ancient Rome, and Plato used some version of it, the highest good it means. And then Christian philosophers started using this word summum bonum to apply to God. So summum bonum, the highest good, means the same thing as param satyam, the highest good. Param, highest or above, and satyam, truth or goodness. So what we meditate upon, what the goal of our worship is the supreme absolute truth, param satyam. Satyam means goodness, and satya means truth. So that means that the supreme truth, or the supreme being, or the supreme object of worship, whatever it may be, is truth, is reality, is goodness. And not just reality, but the ultimate reality. The reality, and not only the ultimate reality, but the highest reality upon which everything else, all other dependent realities are resting. Sutramani Gana, just like pearls are strung on the thread. Krishna is that highest, supreme, param satyam, highest absolute truth that is above everything else. And satyam also means goodness, like the mode of goodness. Raja, Tama, and Sattva. So it also means goodness. It means that the absolute truth is also good. It's something good, it's something desirable. Prabhupada, back in 1958, he wrote a BTG article called Truth and Beauty. And in it he said how one philosopher was saying how something may be the truth, but the truth isn't always beautiful. Sometimes the truth can be harsh. But Prabhupada wrote this in that 1958 article. He said, truth and beauty are compatible terms. Indeed, we may emphatically assert that the actual truth, which is absolute, is always beautiful. The truth is so beautiful that it attracts everyone, including the truth itself. Truth is so beautiful that many sages, saints, and devotees have left everything for the sake of the truth. So this is param satyam. Sometimes in the Vedic literature, the word param Brahma, or the supreme spirit, is also used to describe the absolute truth. Brahma means spiritual, means no trace, not even the slightest contamination of material nature, completely spiritual, completely transcendental, completely above all of the qualities of material nature. Bhagavad Gita says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavichamidam Uttamam. That is Param Brahma, supremely spiritual. Param Dhamma, the supreme abode or resting place of everything. And Pavichamidam Uttamam. And there's nothing more pure than the supreme absolute truth. And again, param means the highest, above everything else, above material nature. Prabhupada would also often quote from the Upanishads, maybe it's Katha Upanishad, that natat samas cha vyadikashya drishyate, that the supreme absolute truth is natat samas, sama, like the English word same. There's nothing the same, there's nothing equal to the absolute truth. Not tat samas cha and cha byari kashya drishyate. And nor do we find anything superior to the absolute truth. So the absolute truth is he who has no equal and no superior. This is the absolute truth. Again, Bhagavad Gita, matak parataram nanyat kinchidasti jananjaya. That you won't find any truth superior to me, Lord Krishna says. Maya sarvamidam protam suchamani gina iva. All truths, everything is resting upon me like pearls upon a thread. So this is the absolute truth. This should be, any serious spiritualist should be after this absolute truth, this highest thing. And this absolute truth is so high and so pure and so spiritual that its nature is unique and different and distinct from everything else. And therefore that absolute truth is one. Eko Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. That Brahma, spirit, the absolute truth is one, and there is no second. One with no second. Eko Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. So there are different understandings of this. One is that he is one without a second, means he's number one, he's the topmost, and there's no other being, no other entity who can be his competitor in any way. No one can approach him close enough to even be considered a competitor or be compared with him in any way. This is one meaning of Eko Brahma Dvitiya Nasti. The other meaning is that the only actual existence is the absolute truth. The only thing that exists is the absolute truth. He is the sole existing entity. Now, of course, we're not like Mayavadis, impersonalists who say this world isn't real or the jivas aren't real or anything like that. The way it's understood is that he's the one existing entity, but through his energies, through the expansions of his energies, all the other varieties of existence come about. Vishnu Shakti Para Prota, Kshetra Yakya Tata Para, Avidya Karma Samaya, Tritiya Shakti Nishite. Krishna has unlimited energies, but in brief summary, he has his internal spiritual potency by which he's performing all of his amazing pastimes and running and maintaining the spiritual world and having so many loving relationships and doing so many things. And his next energy is Kshetra Gya, the living entities. That's me and you and you and you and you and you. All the living entities, all the individual jiva souls, we're also Krishna's energy. And Kshetra Gyakya Tatakpara, and we're also spiritual energy. But because we're very small and because we have free will, we can sometimes, although spiritual in nature, not take shelter. So this is the material world, this expansion of this third energy. There's Krishna's internal energy, the living entities who are us, Jivara Surupai, Krishna Nityadas, Krishnara Tatashta Shakti Beta Beta Prakash, that we're simultaneously, as Krishna's energy, expansions of his energy, we are simultaneously one with and different from Krishna. And there's the material energy, which comprises this material world. And because the living entity is marginal, tatashta means on the line or on the border, we can foolishly choose to go to the material world. And therefore, Krishna creates this entire material world for the facility of us foolish living entities who do that. But he doesn't forget us. Even we come to this material world, even we neglect him, he doesn't forget us. He doesn't neglect us. I was reading this morning in class, Prabhupada was saying, just like a father who has a son who becomes a rascal or becomes rebellious, that even that rascal son goes away and forgets the father will never forget the son, and he's always thinking, oh, when will my son come back to me? So this is us in the material world. We forget Krishna, but Krishna doesn't forget us, and therefore he comes periodically to this material world to help rectify us. He comes and he gives teachings and he performs amazing pastimes. And he does this through his different avatars. Avatar literally means one who descends. So Krishna isn't forced into this material world. Remember, he's Param Satyam. He's Param Brahma. He's completely pure and completely spiritual. So he can voluntarily come to this world without being contaminated by it. And he does that for our benefit, to give us these teachings of Bhagavad Gita, these wonderful pastimes to hear about and learn about. And there are so many amazing avatars who come. This is from the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj's prayers to Nrsimhadev. He says, Itam nirtiryag rishideva jasavatarar logan vibhavaya sihamsi jagat pratipan dharman mahapurusha pashi yuganuvritam chana kalo yad avavas triyugo tasatvam. He says, my Lord, you come to the world in so many different forms. You come as Itam Nrit. You come in the form of a man, like Lord Ramachandra. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's appearing as the ideal man. Itam Nrit Tiryag, or you may come in form of an animal, like Varaha Avatar. Rishi, you may come in the form of a great sage, like Parashuram. Deva as a demigod, Jasha as an aquatic, like Matsya Avatar or Kurma Avatar. And you come in so many different forms, all of these varied forms, all the time, one after another, to come and establish the principles of religion, to establish your greatness, to establish and preserve the principles of religion. But then he finishes, he says, Chana Kalo. But in Kali Yuga, you are hidden. In Kali Yuga, Chana means hidden or unrecognized or in disguise. Chana Kalo Yad Abhavas Triyuga Ta Satvam. And because you come in this hidden form, this unrecognized form in Kali Yuga, therefore you are known as Triyuga, who comes in 3 yugas. He actually comes in every yuga, but he's called 3 yuga. Here, Prahlad Maharaj is calling him Triyuga, because he's not recognized as the Supreme Personality of Godhead when he comes in Kali Yuga. And that, of course, is the coming of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The other verse, there's several verses. Another important verse describing Caitanya Mahaprabhu is in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Samgopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtanaya Prayar Yajantihi Sumerasam, giving a little more detail about his appearance. Krishna Varnam, he's vibrating the words, the holy name, Krishna, the syllables Krishna. When this avatar comes, he's vibrating Krishna, Hare Krishna, he's chanting. And Krishna Varnam also means that he's in the category or classification of Krishna. So he's Krishna, and he's chanting Hare Krishna, but Tvisha Krishna, but he doesn't look like Krishna. Krishna is Shama Sundar. And this appearance of Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Gaura Sundar. So he's Krishna, but his complexion is not like Krishna. And he comes Sango Pangastra Parshadam. He comes with his very intimate associates. He comes with his weapons, his limbs, his associates, his helpers, all come to do his duty as the most merciful incarnation of Krishna. Actually, this Krishna Varna, it's actually kind of a cute play on words, that he's Krishna Varna, but he's not Krishna Varna. His color is not like Krishna, but he's chanting Hare Krishna. So anyway, this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Also, the 4 Kumaras in the 3rd canto talk about the Lord being Triyuga, and that he comes as a hidden form in Kali Yuga. So this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So what is it that's hidden about his appearance, about the appearance of Caitanya Mahaprabhu? What's so hidden or unrecognized about him? Because he comes, and he doesn't come advertising, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like I said in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, there's no truth superior to me, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Caitanya Mahaprabhu comes and he doesn't say that, and he doesn't act like that. He comes as a devotee. He appears as his own devotee in order to teach devotional service. Krishna came to teach us devotional service, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach us devotional service to Krishna, but he's teaching it as a devotee. Prabhupada said, this is in an interview, Prabhupada said, yes, he is Krishna himself, and he teaches how to love Krishna. Therefore, his process is the most authorized. For example, you are the expert in this establishment, he's speaking to the interviewer. You are the expert in this establishment. If someone is doing something under your guidance, and you personally teach him, do it like this, that is very authorized. So when Lord Chaitanya taught God consciousness, God himself was teaching. So he's Bhagavan, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he comes as a devotee. He's not easily recognizable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he's teaching that same message of how to love Krishna, how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's not just an incarnation or an avatar amongst many avatars. One time Prabhupada was speaking, I think it was a room conversation. And he started saying something about Caitanya Mahaprabhu, or one of the guests asked who was Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Prabhupada directed one of the disciples here, said, you speak, tell who Caitanya Mahaprabhu is. So that devotee started saying, oh, Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the most munificent incarnation of God. And Prabhupada interrupted and said, no, not incarnation. He's the original personality of Godhead. So the key verse in Bhagavatam, one of the key verses, is Ete Chamsa Kalapam Sam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. That there are so many incarnations coming, but Krishna is the origin, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu also is not just an incarnation amongst many incarnations. He is that same original Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna is. He's identical with Krishna. And probably I would say that if you remember one thing from this class and forget everything else, remember that Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the original Swayam Bhagavan. So he came for that reason, to teach us devotional service. Actually, as Dronacharya Prabhu did, I'll also give a plug for the morning Bhagavatam class. It's been really exciting lately, and Queen Kunti is talking all about why does Krishna appear in this world, so many different reasons why he appears in this world. So we can also ask, why did Caitanya Mahaprabhu appear in this world? And there's internal and external reasons. Without going into all the detail, he came because it was time for a scheduled incarnation. He came to come and preach the Sankirtan movement and to give devotional service to everyone and deliver everyone. But he also had internal reasons, which are his personal reasons for doing that. And that is tied into the nature, again, of what the absolute truth is. Krishna is the absolute truth, the source of everything, the creator of everything, the maintainer of everything, and the source of the annihilation of everything. Therefore, he is what is called in Sanskrit, he's Ashraya. He's the shelter of everything. The Ashraya, the shelter, or the subject of everything. And all the other creations of his energy are Vishaya, or the objects, the subordinate, those which take shelter under Krishna, the Ashraya. But there's also a philosophical analysis where Krishna is not the Ashraya, he's the Vishaya. And that's in Srila Rupa Goswami's analysis of love of Krishna in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Therefore, there he explains that the devotee is the reservoir of love for Krishna. So because the devotee is the reservoir of love for Krishna, in that relationship, he is the Ashraya. And because Krishna is the object of love of Krishna, towards which the devotee is directing his love, Krishna in that relationship is the Vishaya, or the object of love of Krishna. So, in this sense, the devotee is the Ashraya, or the shelter, or the abode, the possessor of love of Krishna. And Krishna is the object who receives love of Krishna from the devotees. I'm sorry, did I say object? I mean the subject. No, that was right the first time. The object who receives love of Krishna from the devotees. Now this can bring up a possible contradiction. The absolute truth by definition, param satyam by definition, cannot be lacking in any respect at all. He cannot be deficient even in the least bit. He has to be complete. If he's actually eko brahma dvitiya nasti, then he has to be completely all-encompassing in all things and in all experiences. Om Purnamadat Purnamidam. Krishna is Purnam, he's complete. He's completely full, and he's fully complete, and he's fully full and completely complete, and like that. So lacking in nothing, but because Krishna is the Vishaya, the object of love, and the devotee is the Ashraya, that creates a situation where Krishna is lacking something. This is specifically described in the Bhagavatam. In the description of the rasa dance, we may have heard how Krishna called the gopis to the rasa dance, and they all came. They left their families, and they left their husbands and their parents and their homes, and you sacrificed everything to go to the forest to be with Krishna after he played his flute. And then Krishna disappeared from the midst of them. And after he did that to devotees, the gopis, they went, practically speaking, mad in the ecstasy of separation from Krishna. And Krishna saw this, and he was amazed at seeing the love of the gopis. One description of that is that cows produce milk. So the cow is the producer of milk. But the cow cannot produce milk without the help of a calf, or without the help of a gopa or gopi. The milk cannot be extracted unless the calf comes and drinks the milk, or the cowherd comes and milks the cow. So Krishna is the reservoir of all loving sentiments, but he needs the gopis, he needs his devotees for those loving sentiments to be extracted and to be expressed. So after he saw the loving ecstasy, the loving madness of his devotees, an ecstasy that even Krishna couldn't comprehend, he finally came back to them and he spoke this verse. He said, Na paryeham niravadyasam yujam swasaru kritam vibhudayu shaktiva yama bhajandurjara geha shinkala shrimvishta tadva pratyaktu sadhuna. Na paryeham niravadyasam yujam. Your love for me is so amazing, he said, is so elevated and so intense and so rich, your love for me, that I cannot repay you. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that as they surrender unto me, I reciprocate accordingly. But here he's admitting an inability to reciprocate properly with the love of his devotees. Naparyeham niravadyu samajam. I can't repay you. I have to remain your debtor. Swasaru krityam vibhudayu shapiva. Even if you give me a lifetime of Lord Brahma, in which to do it I can't repay you. You'll simply have to be satisfied, swasadu krityam. You'll simply have to be satisfied with your own amazing activities, because I can't do anything to reciprocate with you for it. Yamabhajan dorja geya shrinkalam. You've done the most difficult thing. You've given up your family, left behind family and children and parents and reputation, even more than that. Give up reputation to come and be with me. Krishna is certainly the object of love for all devotees, but he's not sacrificing to engage in those loving relationships in the same way that the gopis are. That they're giving up everything to love Krishna. Samrishya tadva pratyaktu sadhuna. The only possible repayment is your own glorious deeds. So the supreme absolute truth, we've heard many times Prabhupada talking about this, how Bhagavan means he who possesses all opulences. And there's that nice lecture, or it's actually a talk, I think, to a bunch of religious scholars, where he says someone may have $10, $100, $1,000, $1 million, but who can claim that I have all the money? So this is Bhagavan. He has all the money, but he's in a situation where he has everything, and he is everything, but he can't repay his devotees, so he's a debtor. So how can the absolute truth be a debtor? It's impossible. It's irrational. It doesn't make sense that the absolute truth can be a debtor, can be lacking in an ability. And not only lacking an ability to reciprocate, but lacking an ability to experience what the gopis are experiencing. Because he saw not only their love was so great, but he understood that the ecstasy that the gopis are feeling in their love for me is 1,000,000 times more than the ecstasy I feel by the love of the gopis. So how can Krishna be a debtor? How can Krishna be missing out on something? The Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be missing out. Therefore, the only recourse is that he has to come as Caitanya Mahaprabhu to repay his debt to the gopis, to actually experience what the gopis are experiencing. To no longer be Vishaya, to no longer be the object of love, but to directly experience what it is to be the reservoir of love, the lover of Krishna, and to experience that amazing ecstasy. Therefore, someone who is actually after the absolute truth must worship Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sangopangastra Parshanam, along with his associates. We know if anyone who has any kind of religious sentiment, that's undoubtedly a good thing. But if you have some religious sentiment, but you don't understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then your religious sentiment is incomplete. And if you worship Krishna, but you don't understand Krishna along with his greatest consort Radharani, and you don't worship Radha and Krishna together, then again your understanding of the absolute truth is incomplete. And even more so, that even if you worship Radha Krishna, but you don't understand Caitanya Mahaprabhu personally tasting and distributing that love of Radha Krishna, then again your understanding of Param Satyam is incomplete. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, this is from the Adi Leela, chapter 8, text 13. He says, Ataeva Puna Kaham Ordva Bahuhana Chaitanya Nityananda Bhaja Kutarka Charya. Therefore, I say again, lifting my arms, O fellow human beings, please worship Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda without false arguments. Bhaja Kutarka Charya. Give up your bad logic and put your hands in the air and chant Chaitanya Nitai and chant Hare Krishna and worship Lord Chaitanya, and in that way become perfect in understanding and worshiping Radha Krishna and become perfect. This is the mission and the teachings and the reason for the very existence of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, to fulfill the perfection of Radha Krishna worship and to fulfill the actual meaning, the actual prerequisites of the absolute truth. From the purport to that CC verse, Srila Prabhupada writes, because a person who performs Krishna Bhakti but does not understand Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Prabhu Nityananda will simply waste his time, the author Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami requests everyone to take to the worship of Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu and the Pancha Tattva. He assures everyone that any person who does so will be successful in Krishna consciousness. So we can't even imagine our good fortune that Srila Prabhupada came here in the Gaudiya line, teaching Hare Krishna Mahamantra, worshipping the deities, associating with devotees, worship of Radha Krishna, worship of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the very highest, all-inclusive understanding of the supreme absolute truth. This mercy is beyond my comprehension, certainly, that he did that. But what can we do but be grateful and take part in this movement that Srila Prabhupada gave us? And a little bit about taking part in that movement, because today is also the disappearance anniversary of Sri Ishwara Puri Maharaj, who appeared and actually took the role of spiritual master of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. It's his disappearance day. I have a little section from the CC on that, which will also tie into how we can understand and approach Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like, again, we read this morning about Krishna's appearance, how Brahma went to the shore of the Milk Ocean and he prayed to Kiradakashai Vishnu, and then Vishnu told him, yes, all of you demigods, you go and you take birth in the Yadu dynasty and in the land of Vrindavan, and I'll come. So similarly, before Caitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, some intimate associates appeared who were his elders. Madhavendra Puri, who is practically speaking the origin of the understanding of Madhurya Bhav in the Madhvacharya line. Ishwara Puri, his topmost, best disciple, who became the spiritual master of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And Advaitacharya, who is directly responsible for Caitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance by his loud calling and intense worship, calling for Lord Chaitanya to come. He was saying and praying that I see this world is so fallen and so corrupt, and no one but you, Krishna himself, coming in the form of his own devotee, can actually deliver the people of this world. So all these senior persons came, and again, one of them was Sri Ishwara Puri. So in the Antya-lila, this verse appears, Shri Ishwara Puri Rupe Ankur Pushtahaila Apane Chaitanya Mali Skanda Upajila. The seed of devotional service next fructified in the form of Shri Ishwara Puri. And then the gardener himself, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he became the main trunk of the tree of devotional service. So that section of the Caitanya Charitamrita describes how Madhavendra Puri was the first manifestation of the seed of devotional service. This verse said it was fructified. Shri Ishwara Puri Rupe Ankura. Ankura, I think, means like a sprout or a seed. So he was the first sprouting of that seed of devotional service. And from that, a great tree grew up. And that tree, Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the gardener of that tree, and he is also the personification of that tree of devotional service. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes extensively from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He says from the purport, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, quote, Sri Ishwara Puri was a resident of Kumarahata, where there is now a railroad station known as Kamarhata. Nearby there is another railway station named Hali Sahara, which belongs to the Eastern Railway. This railway runs from the eastern section of Calcutta. And he goes on, Ishwara Puri appeared in a Brahmana family and was the most beloved disciple of Srila Madhavendra Puri. In the last portion of Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila 8:28-31, it is stated, Ishwara Puri Gosani Kare Shri Pada Sevana Swahaste Karina Mala Mutradi Marjana Nirantara Krishna Nama Karaya Smarana Krishna Nama Krishna Lila Shunaya Anukshana Tushtahana Puri Tanre Kaila Alingana Varadila Krishna Tomara Hauka Premadana Se Haite Ishwara Puri Premara Sagara. At the last stage of his life, Sri Madhavendra Puri became an invalid and was completely unable to move. And Ishwara Puri so completely engaged himself in his service that he personally cleaned up his stool and urine, always chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and reminding Sri Madhavendra Puri about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. In the last stage of his life, Ishwara Puri gave the best service amongst all of his disciples. Thus Madhavendra Puri, being very pleased with him, blessed him, saying, My dear boy, I can only pray to Krishna that he will be pleased with you. Thus Ishwara Puri, by the grace of his spiritual master, Sri Madhavendra Puri, became a great devotee in the ocean of love of Godhead. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti states in his Gaurvashtika prayer, Yasya prasada and Bhagavad prasado, Yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. It is by the mercy of the spiritual master that one becomes perfect, as vividly exemplified here. A Vaishnava is always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if he appears to be an invalid, this gives a chance to his disciples to serve him. Ishwara Puri pleased his spiritual master by service, and by the blessings of his spiritual master, he became such a great personality that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu accepted him as his spiritual master. This is the value of serving your spiritual master. Ishwara Puri served him so perfectly and chanted so perfectly that he got a chance to personally take part in the pastimes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu as his guru of all things. So this is amazing, to become the guru of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And again, just like, first of all, he did it as an example to us, that we need to accept a proper spiritual master and serve him properly. And also because this is his ecstasy, just like his ecstasy of being a devotee. And part of being a devotee is all of these articles of devotional service, especially as Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, beginning with accepting a spiritual master, serving the spiritual master, taking shelter of the spiritual master. Ishwara Puri actually got to take part in the pastimes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. This ISKCON movement, as given by Srila Prabhupada, is also the continuing pastimes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And we serve Srila Prabhupada's mission, and we follow his orders, and we follow his instructions, and we follow his examples, as well as the examples of all the devotees who may be our Siksha and Diksha gurus in this movement. And in that way, we can also, we don't expect that you'll become the guru of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, but it'll give us the chance to serve in some, even in some little menial way in this continuing pastimes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pascha Deveshatarine. He's carrying the Gauravani, the instructions, the teaching, the example of Caitanya Mahaprabhu to these awful Western worlds and all over the world. So if we take part in that, we're also taking part in Caitanya Mahaprabhu's mission and his pastimes, and becoming, in one sense, an associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. And then at the end of this life, or at the end of whichever future life, we can personally go and be with Radha Krishna and also be with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, as is fitting for our realization and our love and our position. So this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu. He's the supreme absolute truth, and everything is encompassed within him. All of the opulences of Krishna and the power and the glory and the beauty and the wealth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and also simultaneously embodying the humility and the love and the practice of devotional service of his devotee. So what can be a better example, what can be a better teacher for us than that? Just like earlier, I'll reread that little thing that Prabhupada said. Yes, he is Krishna himself, and he teaches how to love Krishna. Therefore, his process is most authorized. For example, you are the expert in this establishment. If someone is doing something under your guidance, and you personally teach him, do it like this, that is very authorized. So when Lord Chaitanya taught God consciousness, God himself was teaching. So we follow the teachings of Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the most perfect teachings of what is the absolute truth, how to approach the absolute truth, and how to develop love for the absolute truth. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaur Nityananda, Ki Jai. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
So what was his teaching?
Chant Hare Krishna. First teaching, most important teaching, chant Hare Krishna.
Every day?
Every day, not every day, all the time. Constantly.
Is there any particular way?
Any particular way?
Any particular recommendation?
Yagyar Sankirtanaya Prayar Yajantihi Sunedasam. First of all is the Sankirtan movement. congregational chanting. Sankirtan, san means perfect or complete. So the most perfect, complete kirtan is when everyone is chanting together, and it should also be perfect and complete in the quality of your chanting. So when you're chanting your japa alone, that can also be sankirtan by making it very excellent quality with full attention chanting. That's also sankirtan. But specifically, as I assume you were hinting at, he came yagyara sankirtanaya prayara yajati sumedasa. That if you have some good brains, you'll understand that the Sankirtan movement is the central point of Caitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings and his example. This is what he did from his young age, from his birth. We were hearing, it was last week, at Lord Chaitanya's birth, he would cry, and then all the ladies would start chanting Hari Hari, and he would stop it. And then he would stop crying. So from his very appearance, or even before his appearance, when the lunar eclipse came, he was making everyone chant. As a child, he was making everyone chant. As a teacher in Navadvip, he was making everyone chant. Traveling all over India for 18 years, he was making everyone chant. And his time in Puri, he was fully engaged in Sankirtan all the time. And in Puri, he also started adding the more internal manifestations of his ecstasy of love of Krishna. But the Sankirtan was always the central core of it all. Anything else? Question or comment?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Either one.
Yeah, regarding the Asraya and Bisaya, you told. So Asraya,
What I didn't hear.
Asraya, you told Asraya and Bisaya.
Yes.
So Asraya is the shelter who gives the shelter, like about Krishna you told. So again, how he the Bisaya also, because you were saying that he the object also.
Yeah, it's the words ashraya and ashraya and vishaya are used in different ways in different circumstances. Krishna is the ashraya of everything. He's the shelter of the whole universe. But in that discussion of love, the devotee is the ashraya because the devotee is the source of love of Krishna. The devotee is the one who loves Krishna. If I love you, then I am the source of that love, and I'm directing it towards you. So I am the ashraya of that love, and you're the vishaya, you're the object of that love. So that's how the words are used in that particular circumstance. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu came so he could also feel what it is to be the person who is directing his love towards Krishna. Because that's an ecstasy even greater than Krishna feels in his loving relationships.
Got it.
Is
Thank
that
you,
right?
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, it clarifies.
John Prabhu, you had something? Or?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a wonderful class.
Yeah.
The aspect of Krishna or Lord Chaitanya wanting to give devotional service liberally to everyone, regardless of any qualification, where does that come from in, I guess, Krishna's personality? How does that manifest?
Krishna is merciful. We were reading this morning in this morning's class, and I referenced the prayers of the personified Vedas. And Prabhupada there in the commentary says that of all Krishna's glories, his most prominent glory is his mercy for the conditioned souls. So therefore he comes to this world. Not only he creates this material world to give us facility to do our nonsense and to enjoy and suffer, but really he does it to give us a chance to become rectified and return back to Godhead. So Krishna himself is so merciful. And as Krishna is merciful, Radharani herself is even more merciful, because she's like the personified of Krishna's soft, merciful nature. Just like Prabhupada said, on Janmashtami, we fast a full day. But on Radhastami, because Radharani is very merciful and very soft, we only have to fast half a day.
Yeah.
So Radharani is that personified mercy. Krishna is already unlimitedly merciful, but Radharani is like the condensed personification of that mercy of Krishna. And Radha Bhava Juti Sulitam Nomi Krishna Surupam. Caitanya Mahaprabhu comes with he's Twisha Krishna. He's not black like Krishna. He comes with Radha Bhava, and Radha Duty comes with the complexion of Radha, and also the mood of Radha, and part of that is that aspect of being merciful. But he takes it to such an outrageous level that had never been seen before, literally inviting anyone, everyone, without restriction. You come and you chant Hare Krishna and take part in this Krishna consciousness movement and become a lover of Krishna with such a lack of restriction that had never seen before. Again, Prabhupada would also sometimes say that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, first of all you surrendered unto me. But Caitanya Mahaprabhu says, no, don't surrender unto me, just chant Hare Krishna. So this is it's no different than Krishna's mercy, but because he's coming with the mood of Radha and in the mood of a devotee, that mercy is especially potent and especially freely given. It's not separate or different than Krishna's mercy, but it's a special manifestation of it. Does that help? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Anything? Time
One more quick, if you have time. So like Bhajo Chaitanya Nitaya you told, right? Adi Lila reference you gave. So Chaitanya himself, he said that to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami saying that Bhajo Chaitanya Nitaya. Is that recommended to, like chant for
we do it all the time. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Prabhupada explained several times as an essential part of our kirtan and our bhajan. But because we follow Caitanya Mahaprabhu, mostly our chanting is Hare Krishna.
Like Mahamantra we cannot continue, right? So once before starting the beats we can only do. So Bhajo Chaitanya, Bhajo means we have to keep chanting, right?
Yes, but we do things the way that Caitanya Mahaprabhu taught and the way that Prabhupada taught. So everything is there. The Hare Krishna is there and the Caitanya Nitaya is there. All in its proper balance is given by Prabhupada.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
you very much, everyone.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatharine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Jagadish Hari Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Krishna Krishna Jaya Vrindavan, Jai Krishna, Vrindavan, Shri Govinda, Gopinatha, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan, Shyama Kunda, Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan. Jaya Jaya Govinda, Govinda.
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. Everybody's favorite time right now, the announcements. Please just stay for a few minutes. A couple quick things I want to tell everybody about this upcoming month. It's very important. We're about to celebrate the appearance day of Lord Caitanya, so we have the festivities leading up to Lord Chaitanya's appearance day on March 17th. It's a Thursday night. So just put it on your calendar so you can take off from work a little bit early to make sure that you're here. Can you flip the lights on? The one all the way on the right. There you go. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to start off the week, March 13th. That's a Sunday. We're going to have a 6-hour kirtan in the temple room leading up to the Sunday feast. So that's March 13th on a Sunday. You come here early, 12 o'clock, and it'll go all the way through the Sunday feast. We'll have a lecture still, but the kirtan will be extended. The night before Guru Purnima, that is the 16th, it's a Wednesday. We want to invite devotees to come for cut-up and decorations. Before COVID, we may have forgotten what it was like, but before the festivals, the festival actually was the night before because so many people would come, help decorate, devotees were stringing garlands, cutting up vegetables and different preparations for the next day to be offered to the Lord. So we want to start that back up again. So on March 16th, the night before, we invite you all to come and help prepare for the celebration on the 17th. On the 17th, actually you can come from Mangalarti that day if you would like to, starting at 5 a.m. But the festival will begin at 5 o'clock in the evening and go until 8 o'clock. It will be Abhishek, Kirtan, there's a drama that's being presented, that's being prepared. So lots of Kirtan as well. And then in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, we're going to, on the 19th, which is the Saturday after Guru Purnima, we're going to organize our first monthly Sankirtan festival of 2022. And so that means we're going to be going on the streets, chanting the holy names, and distributing books to all the people that we see. So these are also listed in the newsletter. We hope you can all join in these, some of these, all of these. If you have any questions, if you want to get involved, please let me know, and we'll make sure to give you more information. The Sunday feast, now that we just started back up again, I just want to let everybody know if you're interested in sponsoring the Sunday feast, you can do that now. That's now available. For the month of January, everything was shut down, so we didn't have that. But if you're interested in sponsoring the Sunday feast, you can do it at the front desk or through the link on our newsletter. That's the announcement. I just wanted to mention that we have we're going to welcome 2 new members of our board of directors. We had a recent annual board meeting. We have 2 new devotees that came to join us on our team. The first is Untitled Krishna Mahaprabhu. He's not here with us today, but we, many of you, if you saw his face, you remember. Many of you do know him. He started here in 2010. He was a student at the University of Pennsylvania, and he got really into Krishna consciousness, and he became initiated devotee soon after that, a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj. Very, very devoted soul. Right after he graduated, he actually had he got some positions up on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. He worked for, in the political realm for a little bit. And he was actually recruited by the CIA, which is very uncommon to get recruited by the CIA. And he actually declined it because he wanted to really focus on his Krishna consciousness, and he moved to Vrindavan in India and kind of ran away from it all. And his Guru Maharaj told him, he says, "You've actually joined the real CIA, Chaitanya's intimate associates." So he was very involved in Sankirtan, studying Srila Prabhupada's books, learning deity worship. Later came back to the United States, got his MBA, was working in his family business now, and moved back into the area not so long. Kids and showed leadership in many ways. And he's shown a strong interest in trying to reinvigorate the youth and make the youth of our congregation and community stronger, and also connect our youth into projects outside of ISKCON of Philadelphia. There's a lot of worldwide initiatives in ISKCON, so to connect our youth into that. So here he is, Darshan, come on up. So everybody knows you, but let's see. So we want your prayers in order to help these devotees so they can perform really wonderful service and helping to strengthen our community and spread Srila Prabhupada's mission throughout the region. So let's pray for them with Untitled Krishna Prabhu and Darshan Prabhu. Let's raise our hands and chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you. And then we also want to give thanks. And we're going to have a special ceremony, but when Caitanya Mahaprabhu comes back, he's in India right now. When he comes back, we want to give a special thanks to both Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who has served decades on the board and has retired this past term, as well as Ramcharan Prabhu, who's also retired at this point. So we really want to thank them for their years of service. We'll do that at a separate time when Caitanya Mahaprabhu returns. As well as Jai Krishna Prabhu. He served as the temple treasurer for many years. Also, he was the temple president of New Vrindavan. He was doing a lot of service. He really stepped in at a time when we needed him. So we want to give a special thanks to him as well. So we look forward to some new times and stepping forward. The youth starting to come up and giving many opportunities for the future. Okay, so we have prasadam available to take. We're still not able to eat here yet, on our prasadam here yet. We're hoping some ways to keep it outside and it'll be available. Just a few more weeks. Let's hang in there. But we really appreciate everybody's cooperation. And you coming to the temple and making this a really wonderful place to experience Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Look.
Jan. You want to learn how to play the cowbell?